It's all right. Oh yeah.
Hello, hello. Barely. Oh, wait, away, wait, away. Here, a little bit. Hello. Anything at all? Hard to tell if it's in my head or in my ear. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Listen. Away. How's this? Here, I hear myself.
Okay.
Wait, sounds like we're in a fucking echo chamber, huh?
Turn that down. See if we now we should just be able to talk
Yeah.
without hearing. Now you don't hear the reverb and the echo.
No.
No.
No, I don't. You hear me?
Yeah, I sure
Oh,
do.
okay. All right. I can't tell.
Yeah. No, I can hear you.
All right. Well, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, man.
Yeah.
Glad to finally get this thing going.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. How's your week been?
All two people. I got 2 subscribers. I don't know how many you got.
I don't have any.
Oh wow. I don't know who the fuck subscribed to me though. I don't.
I don't. I've never, I've never made a YouTube channel, so
Yeah.
I never have anything.
Yeah, me either. Be our first time.
Do you remember, as a kid, um, you'd see the Bugs Bunny back when our cartoons were cool,
Uh huh.
and you'd see the Bugs Bunny cartoons, but whenever they would interact with the fourth wall, like they'd start like they'd be in a strip or something, and they'd break off to like a like an empty comic strip, and you'd see them interact with the cartoonist, like he'd draw a chair
Oh
and
yeah.
Bugs would sit in it. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
And then that same concept is also used in sci-fi movies like The Matrix,
Uh huh.
whenever they broke through, and then went to that white room whenever Morpheus introduced him to all the guns and whatnot, just kept sliding by. And when you think about it, you see that in a lot of movies. A lot of different things. Like here and also in real life with interrogation rooms, or just plain white rooms.
Mhm.
And of course, so that helped. Now my last trip, uh, my last intense trip a few weeks ago, and that's where psilocybin took me was to a white room.
Really?
Yeah. And again, I know that it's projections of ourselves in here, and but she of course the fractals came, and and the music was great, and I was floaty, and I was having a good time, and I was going higher and higher, and then I blasted the fuck off and went nowhere. I mean, just shot out, and then I just seemed to open my eyes and be standing in a white room. Um, Now it was just it was there wasn't another deity there talking to me or anything. There wasn't another form. It was just me alone, and it was like a monologue in my own head. Me answering the voices question, and it made me. I was I had been doing a lot of meditating and a lot of reading about how to improve myself and what's going on with myself and my problems and my all that. And what she did whenever we sat down in that room, um, she said, "You're asking the wrong questions." I said, "What do you mean? I'm trying to better myself, myself, myself." She goes, "Well, what is self?" And I was like, "Well, that's me. That's what I am." "Okay, what are you?" And then, what is self? That is the question to ask. And so I did, and that's what I've been reflecting on. And there's psychological self that try to you have a self-centered brain, or the left side of the brain is the center brain. But then you also have Eastern philosophy that believes that there is no self, or the self is a verb instead of a noun trying to describe something. It's a verb, as like the self is always in motion, and it's always been influenced by either internal or external factors. So you're never really myself.
Mhm.
You're just myself right now.
Mhm.
And that really made me reflect. And the other thing that because I the other part of that teaching moment was, you know, I needed to be more. I've always, again, trying to better myself. And she goes, well, "What about right now? What is wrong with right now? Why are you not happy with right now? What can you change for right now?" And I was like, "Nothing. I am happy. Then be happy. Enjoy right now." I reflected a lot, with a photographic memory. It seems of past, like where I was a year ago, and you know, and and flashes of memories of text messages or things like that, where people go, "Hey, I can actually see you smile in that picture," because I guess I never smiled in pictures.
Yeah.
Or I don't, I didn't smile a lot, and of course, at work, somebody said you actually have a dimple, because again, all I guess just
Yeah, you
resting.
do have just one, right?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably from where you're missing that
No,
tooth.
I've always had one my whole
Oh,
life.
really?
Yeah.
So what is the self then?
Well, it's what we would think it's the pilot. It's the pilot of your car, the pilot of your airplane. It's the one it's what drives us to do this or that. But that's always changing.
Hmm.
So there really isn't. I mean, it's your you call it your ego if you want to call it
I hate
yourself.
that word.
Yeah,
I do. It's so overused.
it is. It really. I mean, and it's
The ego is like so important.
it
It's
is
it is
important.
very important, but it's at the same time can be like your downfall. But it's so important. Like it's what keeps you alive. It's what keeps you moving.
Right.
It's your ego that in some ways you could say the ego is the self, right? Like
Well, Freud had, I know he had three different, forms of ego, um, but yeah, thanks for reminding me. I need to get closer to my mic.
no, you're loud in mine.
Uh, and it's hard. I mean, I don't know. It's just, without more. I mean, I guess what I'm saying, I've just now started um, getting deep into this. Trying to once uh, once I start down this rabbit hole, and you know how my brain works. I want to know what is the self.
Yeah, me too.
And then, is it a Taoist Buddhist, philosophy of there is no self, um, or is it, Western philosophy that there is a self in the brain, that's self-driven, or is it a mixture?
Yeah,
That's what that's what I've been trying to, that's what I've been reflecting on the last few days.
yeah. It's a hard one to know the answer to. You can't really know the answer.
Yeah,
So you're in the so you're dead.
that is true. Nobody knows the answer until you're dead,
Yeah,
and then once you're dead, I mean,
doesn't do you any good anymore.
right? Um, and then you wonder, I mean, yeah.
I'm constantly thinking about what this whole thing is. Like, what is it? What are what's the point of this? Like, is it a self? Is it? Are you just one of everybody, or are you an individual? Is this like just a nursery for consciousness? Like maybe this is where all consciousness spews from. I
Yeah,
kind of look at life as if life is the cocoon, and then when you die, you become the butterfly. That's just kind of how I feel, and I've got that on a psychedelic trip.
that's a good way to look at it.
But it's just how I feel. It's like it's something inside of me, and it's because all that reflecting I did when my parents were dying, and it's just like I guess it made me think a lot about it. It's just like I feel like there really is something special for everyone, even the lowest ones, even like the lowest pieces of shit that were the worst. In some way, there's something special for them too. Even like the worst of the worst.
Right.
But I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? But I just it's just a feeling I have that like, and it's just because I'm a parent, and it's like to look at my creation and to think that I would want something bad to happen to them. It's like it's unreasonable,
Right.
So I don't see that if something created us that it's just gonna want us to be tossed away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we didn't figure it out in this lifetime. So I don't know. It sometimes leads me to think that like maybe it just keeps going. sometimes I think that maybe having kids is what makes it keep going. Like you just recreate yourself and
Your
somehow,
spirit passes on.
yeah, to
Yeah,
them, and like then you just you're stuck in that cycle.
yeah.
And if that were true, then you're gonna be the one that gets out free, right? You know what I
Because
mean? Yeah, you
my
don't have any
spirit's
kids.
done.
Yeah, yeah. There's no telling. I don't know. It's a mystery.
Well, yeah, it really is. And it's it's really and it's not. It's up to everybody's interpretation, and
Mm,
I know, and then whatever book you follow and whatever God you believe in,
yeah, yeah.
um, you know, eh, even those who say they don't believe in God have put enough energy into that it may have formed an a deity just on the energy alone,
Yeah.
and there is the no God energy,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, if you want to go for the quantum physics part of it, just keep putting out the same energy over and over, and it builds up.
Yeah. Very true.
You know, to not believe in nothing, you still believe in
Something. Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a cult of its own. As much as they don't want to be in one, it's still a cult. You know.
In one way or another, everything's a cult.
Yeah. So how was your weekend?
My weekend was cool. Had a woman come over.
Yeah.
She, she stayed, Saturday and stayed the weekend. It was, it was pretty. We hadn't seen each other in a little over a year or
Yeah.
almost a year. Um, she said, "You're so romantic. You're just like roll over."
Yeah. How else are you supposed to say
She's like,
it?
"We were just laying there, and you said roll over." I thought you were wanting because it was like 2 a.m. or something. I thought we were going to cuddle. Well, that's what she saw. One of my uh, one of my auto blows,
Uh-huh.
and she
You
goes,
just leave it laying out?
"Yeah, it's my
Why?
house. It's not like I don't leave it out like in the living room as a conversation piece.
Yeah, you
It's just
do.
sitting out it was laid in the bedroom where it's supposed to be."
In the bedroom,
But
just
she
out in the open.
she goes, "Is that one of those things that you had like last time?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's a better model. Do I need it?" She goes, "No, not this weekend." So yeah, it was a fun weekend. It was good to
Oh, that's
reconnect and
good.
have a few laughs.
Did you had a good time though?
Yeah, had a
Other
great
than
time.
that, that's good.
I've got some grain bags for you.
Do you?
Yeah, they haven't, they've stayed sterile and they haven't shown any sign of contam. So,
Cool.
whenever we get all done, I'll bring them in. I put a couple of self-injection ports on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, you don't do that on yours normally?
No, I got Agar to grain.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. So then I just shoot them up, huh?
Yeah, see what happens.
I was thinking about that earlier. Well, what are those things you wanted to talk about? Do you remember what those were?
Well, part of it
More?
was the self,
Okay.
because that was.
We could talk about that some more. I just don't have an answer. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Like
not. There is no real answer
yeah,
to
there
it.
isn't one.
Um, you know, mankind. I mean, well, man. Just in general. I mean, we like to put labels and physicalities on things. Like this has to be this. This has to be labeled as this, and it's been that way since the beginning. We've always tried to explain the metaphysical, or explain our own what's going on inside of our own heads. I don't think we've even begun to break free of
No.
to explain what's going
Yeah.
on inside of our heads. Um, but it's widely known that psilocybin affects the serotonin 2 receptor that's on the outside of the that's on the outside of that dendrite. Well, now they're saying that it also can affect the ones that are on the inside. Like it actually breaks the cell membrane to affect the stuff on the inside, whereas your SSRIs and things like that don't. So that's another way it's helped. Of course, from the inside, it helps to heal and make new dendrites and things like that. So that's a positive sign. But I'm just saying through psychedelics and and what I've been reading about how they're using psychedelics to explain differences between the cells and what in the psychological and how to help PTSD, and now they're helping eating disorders,
Mm-hmm.
in which I think is because that a lot of that comes from your ego and yourself, as far as when you're hungry or eating when you're bored, or starving yourself if you can, things like that. Uh, but I don't know where I was going with that. I'm a little high,
Yeah, me
dude.
too. Yeah,
Um,
I feel a little flat today. I don't know why. I felt like that last time though. So
well, it takes a bit to warm up.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't
So
know. When I think about the self a lot, I'm like, what am I? What is this? It's a weird thing. I kind of like the idea that the Easterners had when they're like, we're all one consciousness split up into many rays of light. I like that. I like that a lot. Just
well, uh, all the religions have just explained everything away.
hmm
You know, and then there won't be any more new religions. There can't.
yeah,
Too many too many cults are still, of course, still operating, but just the word cult. You get 20 or 30 people together, somebody's going to say you're a cult and just squash that. I mean,
yeah.
they're still trying to do it. Scientology and Mormonism is just now picking up to where it's considered
What is Romanism?
Mormonism.
Mormonism.
Because I remember like great granddaddy be like, Mormons, we don't, that's weird. But now it's getting more mainstream and picked up and accepted.
I guess. my 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 grandfather's father was a his name was Moroni, after some sort of angel, some sort of Mormon angel, and he was one of the founders of the Mormon Church here in Houston. And so like that whole his whole side of the family, they weren't actually blood related to me as my step grandfather, but that whole side of the family, they're all Mormon, and they're fucking weird as fuck. Like you can't like they're real secretive and shit. Not even like secretive, but like when I was a kid, I had taken some acid, right? And my grandpa had died, and we were cleaning out his house, right? And so like I got in the dumpster. They like made me get in the dumpster to break everything down as it got thrown in the dumpster. Just break it down more. And so like I was in the dumpster breaking all this shit down, and it was just crazy to me how much a man's life they just would throw out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I asked one of my cousins, I said, "Hey, let me see your knife for this night." They're all Boy Scouts, and he started to give it to me, and then he goes, "Oh, but you don't have a knife badge." And I was just like, "Fuck you!" And like, I hate those kids. Still to this day, they're all doctors and lawyers. I fucking hate them. I hate them so much. And I don't even hate them. I just don't like them. But I just remember being in that dumpster and thinking, "Oh, like this is what happens when you die. Like all your shit just gets fucking thrown away. Like it really does though." And he had a lot of shit, and it wasn't like junky shit. He just collected a lot of stuff, and most of that shit just went straight to the trash.
Yeah.
And they didn't want nothing good. Oh yeah, you work in death. Yeah,
But whenever you and, whenever you die, you know, if you have family, they're going to pick what they want,
yeah.
and then the rest of it is going to
Oh
shitter.
yeah.
You know, so all that material possessions people just hoard, 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 hoard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I always said I was a minimalist, minimalist. I had whenever I moved to my house, I had nothing on the walls for like a year, and like a girl would come over and be like, "You look like you live in prison." And then my stepmom came over and put up some stuff
Mm-hmm.
from Hobby Lobby, and then I've been putting up posters or putting up prints and whatnot, frames, because I'm a man, I'm a bachelor. But
You are putting up frames.
yeah, the prints are in frames
Oh, because you're a man.
because I'm a grown man, not a
Oh,
boy. You
okay,
know what I
okay. I
mean?
get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
some men who live alone, they just have posters taped to the
Yeah,
wall.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
No, I'm big on frames. I
yeah,
like frames.
I like frames. I'm making the house right, but
Nice.
all that's
I have
gonna
this idea that your house is just cluttered. So it sounds like so different from what I
it's just one
think.
room is cluttered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like there's toys everywhere and shit. Like comic books, like all kind of fun shit. Just everywhere.
One room like that. I
Oh,
got
really?
yeah. I have one room where I'm allowed to do whatever I
And
want in it.
okay.
You know what I mean? Have my junk everywhere. you know,
Uh-huh.
and that's where I go. I go get my toys out, go to the living room, play with
And
them,
you go put them
and
back.
I go put them back
That's nice. That's
because
better than I thought.
yeah, I don't. There are times where I'll get depressed or not give a shit. And I'll just leave.
Yeah, yeah,
But eventually you wake up, you come out on a Monday morning after, and you're like, I can't. I got
yeah,
to
yeah,
clean.
yeah,
This is unacceptable.
yeah.
But then that's part of being alone. That's part of living
Mm-hmm.
alone. You don't. I always, how can you say it? I always felt like I was doing more of the work at the home in the last couple of years that we were married, but you know, uh, she was too. Now I can see because
Uh-huh.
living alone, you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
You ain't got nobody to pick up after you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody nag you, but nobody picks up after you either. Nobody to
nobody,
nag you to pick
nobody
up.
cleans the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
you know. So that's just So anyway, we got to take all those material possessions, that we buy and we make our house look all pretty and presentable, and all the toys that we have to
Mm-hmm.
have, all the crap that we need to make us feel human. And if you die, all that's going in the dumpster.
Yeah. I
And
yeah, I try to remember that shit, but I collect so much shit, and I'm like,
right,
I just know like I need to stop. I need to stop. I need
dude,
to.
I'm over here like, hey, that
So
looks
much junk.
cool. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
oh yeah, as long if it's under $50, for sure, I
I'm
gotta
buying
have
it.
it. If it's under 100, I think about it for a day, and then if it's like,
I'm buying
especially
it.
if it's
Yeah.
right around payday, yes, I mean, but yeah, because again, nobody nag you go, don't buy that.
Yeah.
But all of that stuff, if you die, goes in the dumpster
Mm-hmm.
that nobody else wants,
Yeah.
and most people don't want your shit
Yeah. They really don't.
because it
Yeah.
was only important to you.
Mm-hmm.
It was special to you.
Yeah. Well, I took a lot of his shit that day. Like I took a lot of books that were like old art books and shit like that, and then I guess he had done something at the museum, the Fine Arts Museum. I don't know what he did, but I took a lot of those books, and I took stupid shit like his coveralls. You know, the old man coveralls.
Yeah, things
Yeah,
that were important to you.
yeah. I took a lot of his clothing. I mean, it was cool shit at the time because like retro shit was real in. You know, when I was
Yeah,
15, but so I had like a lot of cool clothes, but I don't know. It's just weird to me watching them throw out everything and then keep TVs and bullshit. You know.
keep the expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that happens. Whenever my grandmother died, 15 years ago, me and my ex-wife were up there. We were married at the time, and my grandmother, of course, had the same stuff that she's had since I was a child. Still sitting in the same curio cabinet is a statue of Jesus knocking on her door, and then an old man playing a banjo and a different one. They're about 6 or 8 inch figures, but I called Darby up there and I said, "Hey, come over, and look at." And told her the story that my grandmother told me about Jesus knocking your heart and all that, and blah blah. Blah. And grandmother started crying. And I was like, "Grandmother, why are you crying?" She goes, "I didn't realize that was, it was that special to you. Please take it." I go, "I don't want, I don't want your stuff." She goes, "No, I'm 95 years, or she was old. She's like, "I'm going to be dead before you. You live all the way down in Houston. You're not going to see me again, probably." I was like, "Well, that's very true, probably. Just be honest." She goes, I this makes me happy as to see you and all that." And so yeah, I took it. Of course, the Jesus part, but it was just, I don't know, that was cool. Then the ex-wife broke it, Dustin, one day.
Really, that sucks.
Yeah, but the memory, it does suck, but it's just stuff.
Yeah, it's just stuff.
The memory is still there
Yeah,
of as a child, plus as a grown man, from grandmother giving it
yeah,
to me. That memory will live with me forever. That
mm,
statue is gone,
yeah,
but it's just stuff.
yeah, it's just stuff.
But the
Yeah, right.
memory, um, and I think that I understand now why parents will take a 6-year-old or younger to Disneyland,
Okay, why?
because the child's not going to remember it in 10 years,
Yeah,
but the parent is going to remember that for their lifetime. If that
really good
makes
point.
sense.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
You know, we always ask, why are they doing such a special, such a big deal for such a small child? They're not going to remember it. There's more. They're not doing it for the kid.
Yeah,
They're doing it for themselves too,
yeah, I didn't really
because it's
think about
part
it.
of being a parent. Is that your kid won't remember a lot of but you're going to remember
Mm-hmm.
all those stupid.
Well, like Gio, my oldest son, his he has a brother named Alex, And did I tell you about this the other day?
Mm-mm.
Well, so his he has a brother named Alex, and he's pretty dark. He's a Puerto Rican kid, and he came over the other day and was like, we were talking and stuff, and he has forgotten that I taught him how to swim, and I was like, "You forgot I taught you how to swim?" It's like it was a big deal for me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but
So
he
like,
does. You know, he
yeah,
just
he
knew.
didn't even
He
fucking
just
remember
knew
it.
that he one day he just could swim.
Yeah,
He doesn't
yeah,
remember. You know, he wasn't online yet.
yeah.
You
I
know.
had to remind him. That was me. I taught you. I showed you how to do that.
Yeah.
Give me my fucking glory.
Well, our memories and interpretations, you know, they're also subjective. To the self.
Hmm.
In 1981, there was a doctor who found out that you can control seizures, really bad seizures, by cutting off the corpus that controls the two or that connects the two halves of the brain. They do some cutting there, and it helps control seizures.
Hmm.
Well, they also discovered through that how to talk to people on their left side and on their right side.
Hmm.
And so they would tell the right sided person, walk. They would get up and go walk. Then, whenever they got done, they would ask the left side of the brain, somehow, some way, I don't know, but why did you get up and walk? And the left side of the brain would say, well, the cat meowed. It has no idea, so your left, your left side, your interpretation had no idea why it walked, so it just made something up. And so that's why some memories are interpreted, or a lot of memories, they're always interpreted a little bit differently.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really
there's a better explanation for that.
I'm sure.
That
I'm
I'll see if I can find that article again.
sure. Yeah, we gotta come prepared.
I got to read it a few more times in this state of mind so I can remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
What was the second thing on that? I didn't really even look.
it's been just a combination of stuff. It was kind of just a few different articles.
No, I meant on that thing that you had sent me.
Yeah, that's what it
Oh,
was. Yeah, it
okay.
was three different articles.
Yeah.
All,
Oh,
about
all on the same subject.
yeah, kind
Oh,
of,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I don't know if it was
Um,
three different things.
uh, you know, uh, but you look on the internet, on those fringe websites, that just you know that aren't run by an ad agency, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And it's a lot of the same information, but they're also writing just in different, different ways to try to. They write in those layman's terms. That's what I liked about it. Um, and uh, Biden is, well, if he doesn't die, the FDA is actually getting is going to hopefully get psilocybin schedule, to be dropped from a schedule from a class, class 2 now or class 1, down like a class 4.
Really?
Hopefully by
Still
like,
felony though.
well,
Class 4 felony.
no, like
A
the scheduled
misdemeanor.
drug, this, yeah, be a misdemeanor
Oh,
instead of
that's
a
cool.
felony. Um, but
Nice.
that, hopefully,
Yeah.
let's see what happens,
Why not drop it all the way down? See.
because they're still not, they haven't found a way to neutralize the psilocybin without making it hallucinogenic, so they can make money off of it.
Hmm.
But at least it's something.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I know those dudes are gonna fuck it all up
Yeah,
once they get a hold of it.
yeah. If the government gets a hold of it, or a big farm gets
Yeah,
a hold
that's
of
what I'm
it,
talking
yeah,
about. Big pharma. Yeah, they're gonna fuck it all up. Glad I had my trips before.
well, yeah, or find a natural grower,
Yeah.
or just those lucky times you're out in the field
Hmm.
foraging things up.
Yeah. Right.
It's hard to microdose on forage and stuff because you need good 50 50 grams for a few months.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, even if you take because for you're supposed to take less. Find out how much it takes. The minimum amount it takes for you to start feeling a little bit effect. You can take a little bit less than that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Still, depending on your schedule.
It'll still be like another 10 years probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the transgression or the how the pot timeline, it took
Hmm.
from being
Yeah.
illegal to where medically or decriminalized, or at first it was medically legal and then decriminalized, and then state after state after state.
Yeah.
It's been about 10, 15 years. So I think psilocybin will be the same way.
Yeah.
It's just getting too. It's getting there's getting too many headlines about the John Hopkins studies,
Hmm.
things like
Oh
that.
yeah, it's
So
all good now.
and then they're also doing studies in Norway.
When when I first started taking them though, it's like exactly what I wanted. I was like, everyone needs to know about this, and it was like it was kind of still a secret. It wasn't like mainstream like it is now, and like so when I saw that thing on Netflix, I was like, oh, this is good. This
Yeah.
is really good because it's just gonna get out there. And I hear when customers come in here and they talk about it, I'm just like, yep. Because a lot of times it surprises me who they are. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that from them. You know
Right.
what I mean, or from you. And so it's a good thing.
You know, a friend's son, and I say, he asked me about it, and he asked, I mean, he said, I've been reading about them, and I hear you can't take them every day. I said, no, you don't want to take them every. You have to, you build up a tolerance really quick to them. That's why they're not abusive. You can't abuse psilocybin. Um, and he goes, so do have you taken enough that you see things? I said, yeah, that's what you do, but um, I don't do it very often now. I used to, like, I grew them. I was like, oh, trip, 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 trip. This is awesome. This is awesome. Now, I just, you don't. I don't need to. I don't need to always. I don't need to see fractals every Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't need to. It wasn't. It just. I don't know. Every trip was awesome, but now that I've taken some deep meditation type trips and started to really expand and really use the tools that are was always at my hand
Yeah.
to better myself. Um, I don't trip as much as I used to.
Yeah. Those are the real ones.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for. Just that deep meditative, whatever the fuck that is. That's all I want.
Right.
That's it.
I mean, a couple. I would like to take 2 or 3 grams. You know, it's enough to just to make me feel really really good, really really good, and then just kind of get pissed off that it didn't blast off.
Yeah.
I can't. So now, but since I've got this, since I'm on a good microdose stack, um, it's really, that's really the main, was really what's been life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Microdosing didn't really seem to do much for me. I didn't really feel much from it. Felt like I could run better, run faster, run longer. That's about it.
It took a few months. Like the first month, really didn't touch, but it took a bit for, I guess, for me to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the time change ever going to stop?
I don't know. Like, what do you mean in life?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because some states, some countries don't do it.
I've heard that.
Some states
How
don't
do you
do it.
think that works?
They just have to adjust their own, like if something's going to start at 6 p.m., in a different time zone, then they know at what time it starts in their time zone.
Is that the reason we do it?
No, it's got to do with, the farmer's
For
almanac.
farmers, right?
Yeah.
Having like enough light to work or some shit.
Yeah, that's when it all started.
Okay. I don't know. What would happen if they took it away? Nothing.
No, I mean, the world would still turn.
What
And
time would it be right now? Would it be like 11 or 7 or something?
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we fall, so it'd be 7.
11 or 7.
It's a little bit of a gap there.
Told you I felt flat today.
time is a good concept, but it's not quite that
You
fluid.
know, a long time ago, I came under this idea that time isn't real.
No.
It's not real at all. It's simply just for us to mark things in our mind. It's just not a real thing, though. I mean, it is like there's a pattern that goes on every day. The Earth goes around, and,
Right.
the moon goes around us, but it's just not. I don't know. It just seems like it's real fake.
I can follow that because I forget birthdays now. Like I forget, I know that I work, these, the money. I know the work days, but the big holidays or the time, it's just like, nah. I don't pay attention to shit like that
Yeah.
anymore.
I haven't ever.
You know, time. Time can let you. Time can overwhelm you if you let it. Uh, and I know that when I procrastinate, shit, but and I know that having a deadline really sucks. But yeah, I totally yeah. Time is our own mistakes for making.
I think like somebody explained it as like it's the way to organize events in your mind, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like you kind of need it for that.
I don't know, man.
A lot of dead air on
Well,
this one, huh?
I'm just trying to. I guess I don't know. That was I've just been really thinking about the self, and that's what that's what's been consuming my head.
We
Yeah.
can talk about that some more. I just don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, I know that when I die, I don't think I'm gonna be me anymore. Like,
Well, okay. There's a good question. Uh, you know, whenever you die, if you follow the Christian dogma and you go to heaven, are you are you with your family?
I think that I'm still gonna be this same consciousness. I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna be Justin Thomas. You
Right.
know what I mean? Or whoever Jay Leno or whoever the fuck I pretend to be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I feel like I'm still gonna be me in a sense, but just not this body and not this face. And
Okay.
I don't even think there's gonna be mirrors where I'm going. So
Yeah. So yeah, but like you see the picture, like in the movies and things, when they're, people die, like they show humanoid
uh huh.
figures with wings. I don't think it's, I think I think human, like people say they see angels, and I mean, I can totally understand. You see that angel, but you put the wings on it. You made it that figure in your head when you saw it.
So you know that when I told you about my first big trip and like the shirt you're gonna buy me for Christmas,
Yeah.
and how I told you about with the feathers floating behind it, and it was
Hmm.
like, well, it wasn't really feathers, it was like flames, but what it reminded me of was the Native American headdress and how it's got the feathers and the flames. Basically, it would be like and so the feathers are kind of representing the flames, and so maybe that's what like they aren't feathers, but they're more like flames. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But we're just like feathers. There's feathers there because
Right.
like I couldn't actually see that there was like a colored flame or anything. It just had that effect. It's the same. I mean, it was a flame, but I guess if I was gonna make a artful representation in this world, it would be with feathers.
Right, because you can't, especially
Yeah.
for like, for dancing,
Mhm.
and, for
Yeah.
rituals, because you can't really have a flaming, But yeah, that's a totally that's a good theory.
And then like so like and some people think flames, they think hell and all that shit or the devil and stuff, but I don't necessarily think like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe more like an eternal flame, because I've had these deep meditations where like I've seen me as the flame, you know what I mean? And so I don't know.
All right.
I
You
don't know. I
you
lost
brought up
myself.
something,
But flames.
like you see flames, people think hell.
Hmm.
Okay, but what about your Nordic ancestors?
What about them?
Their hell that would have been their heaven. Their
Flames.
hell was their Hades was a bitter ice cold.
Hmm.
I mean, if you remember the stories, I mean, they just, I mean, whenever, for the first, before they go to, whenever, that's their purgatory. They don't believe anybody just stays there.
Yeah.
But that, to them, that was their hell.
Hmm.
Well, it wasn't flames; it was ice cold. So, and the flames of hell was never actually discussed in any kind of dogma until Dante's Inferno or the Divine Comedy first came out, and that's whenever they started building off of that, uh, kind of
Do
in
you
a
remember
way.
when that was?
Back in seven, eight,
BC?
no, it was. I have to. No, I don't. I just know.
Dante's came out before Christ, right?
No, Dante's Inferno came out, in the Renaissance.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I know that.
the Divine Comedy.
Like Homer's Iliad?
Hey, I don't.
You can look it up. Nobody's.
Hey Siri, when did the Divine Comedy first get written? Between 1308 and 1321.
Oh wow, that's really late.
That's what I mean.
That's really late.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the Bible is a lot of interpretations and rewritten, picked up, um, but yeah, that's what we think about hell is because I mean, whenever we think of something really really hot, because we don't like hot, uh, but that's why I don't think of hell as whenever even when I was into following the Christian dogma really good, I never really believed in a flame and fire and brimstone
Yeah.
hell, um, where the mashing of the teeth and the darkness and the pain, the constant
Hmm.
pain. My hell, and it wasn't even it's not, I can't say my hell. What I imagined hell to be was just the absence of God's love. And I mean, you know, even whenever we're at our worst, you know, whatever God you believe in, when you're at your worst and you're hating life, and you always have that ever presence and you know, that paternal, that divine love. So remove that, and I think that would be hell.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Some of those ancient scriptures and stuff that I've read, they talk about like the pre-Christian stuff, and it talks about scattering, like instead of hell, take hell out, and it's like the scattering you to the edges of the universe,
Yeah,
and that's where you sit until everything comes back together again and bangs again or whatever. So that makes a lot of sense because that's what that would be like, right?
right. Just to be isolated and alone,
Hmm.
but nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Just have our beliefs,
Yeah,
and I mean, if I'm not a good person now, you know, just I mean, I'm just how can I say it? I'm a good person now, but I'm doing it for because it's the right thing to do, not because it's going to get me a good
yeah. Hmm.
afterlife. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, one's kind of a selfish reason, right?
Well, you know, I I want to go to heaven, so that means I'm going to do these things. And that's what I mean. That's not my goal. My goal is to
Serious.
be nice now,
Yeah.
just to be nice, because
Yeah.
that's the right thing to do. You know?
Did you imagine that like life was that rough that you had to like convince people that like, hey, look, if you're not a little nicer, motherfucker, you're about to go to hell and be on fire forever.
I mean, Patton Oswald, has this, has a bit about it, or kind of comedian. He talks about sky cake, and he talks about how people used to get along until one guy was like, hey, I'm better than everybody. I'm just gonna go assault and kill, and do things to people over and over and just bully, bully, bully. And then the philosopher, the weak guy of the group, he's like, hey, if you don't do that when you die, you get to have some sky cake.
Yeah.
And do you want sky? I mean, whatever you want to call it, he calls it sky cake. So the bully's like, of course I want sky cake when I die. And you got to be nice to folks.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, whatever it takes for you to be nice to people and not just murder.
Probably it was probably needed. It was probably needed.
Yeah,
I think all that stuff is kind of like has a good place, even though it's like can be such a bad thing. Like that's the thing about going back to church with my parents' church. It's like, oh my god, I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine having to sit through all that shit again.
yeah,
And then I'm like, what am I doing to my kid? Am I gonna? Because it was hella confusing for me, but my parents weren't like. At least I think I would be like, like telling my kid what I've learned, not just what this fucking asshole keeps telling me every week. Because like they were just like, oh well, the Jews were the chosen people, and I was like, are we Jewish? My parents were like, no. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here then? Like, I don't understand what the point of this shit is if the Jews are the chosen people and we're not Jewish. It's not for us. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. I was like, this isn't for us.
right.
And so like, and I mean, my parents were like, they were completely in, so they weren't. You couldn't say shit like that to them. They would talk about kicking me out and shit if I didn't believe in God. I was like, okay, I believe in
Yeah,
God.
whatever it takes for
Yeah,
for this
don't.
conversation to be
Yeah,
over.
for my house to be my house still.
Well, you can teach him, what they say, and then because I mean, there's a lot of historical facts,
Yeah.
in the Bible, and then in the today's Bible, there's still some historical facts
There's
in
a
there.
lot. Yeah.
And so you can kind of show him, hey, when this book was written, there was only these 6 countries in the world, and they thought that was the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just remember that when they're talking about how far they traveled, and this is where they
Yeah.
went.
Well, I just already know there are stories. There are older stories than that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're gonna start trying to go to church soon, though.
Huh?
Just for that. So
Whatever it takes for
so
your
they
kid.
hear this podcast and they're like, "Oh, you're just going to church for free schooling."
Nothing's for free.
Nothing's free.
Nothing's for free. They'll make you pay
Yeah. Oh, I'll tithe. I'll have to tithe.
a lot. Yeah, I know you. Here, just whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
No. No. I was just telling them I don't make a lot of money sometimes. Sometimes I make good money, sometimes I don't.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's
That's true.
that's being self-employed.
Yep, it's true. You gotta know how to save. As long as you know how to save, you'll be good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna work until I die.
Till you die, huh?
Yeah. Hey, the way the world's going, it won't be that much longer.
Yeah. Yeah. People have always said that.
Yeah.
I feel like the world will be here way past that.
And the sign of the times. You can't say the sign of the times when it's always been that way.
Yeah.
You know.
That's one of the things that this one book I was reading about symbols and symbols, sex symbols, and magic or some shit like that. And it was talking about how like Jesus kind of failed because he was the one that was like, "Oh, my father's coming back," and then he never came back. You know what I mean?
Right.
They paint it like it's gonna happen in your lifetime.
That's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they've always, every lifetime, everybody,
Yeah,
this is it.
Yeah, he wasn't very good at calling it. If that, you know what I'm saying? And then also in the same book, it was talking about how the four scriptures that was like the four apostles or whatever that the four main books of the New Testament, how like they were obviously written like hundreds of years apart from each other.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting, and how much more detail got added as the books went on.
I'm waiting for the other 13 or 14 books that are missing.
The Nicene text. Or
Yeah.
whatever. Have you never read them?
Mm-mm.
I've read a few.
Yeah. Most of that stuff's still locked up in the Vatican vaults.
Oh yeah, the ones we won't get. But that's really weird because the the book of Saint Thomas or the book of Thomas. I don't know what you
Yeah.
call it, Saint Thomas. Thomas. I wanted to read that one. It's all Jesus's quotes. So it's only things that he was to have said. It's some fucking weird shit in there. He's like, I'm not. He's at one point he says, I haven't come to bring nations together, but to drive them apart. Like talks about how he's come to drive a wedge between fathers and sons and all this shit. It's pretty interesting.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why they took it out.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking weird. Yeah,
That's something to Google.
I'll bring it to you if you want it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. What time is it?
It is 5:54. So about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little under.
You want to call it?
Sure.
Shoot this one in the head.
Yeah. First
Little-
episode
little
out
flat.
the door.
Yeah.
First
It's all right.
episode out the door.
We're gonna shove it out there. I started to do some photoshopping yesterday, but it started to look like a heavy metal album cover.
Yeah.
I just trashed it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I don't like it. What I was trying to do for the late night. So we'll see.
Well, all right. Yeah, and we'll see how the audio turns out, and if we need to.
Can we have the audience take us out with an applause?
Sure.
Fucking loud as fuck. Like, Hey.
There we go.
That was
All
it,
right.
folks.